Welcome to Twilight Hues, Part 1, Top Run and 2 Lower Panels. Here you will see the finished double accordion with a fabric and slow stitch attachment. Now, let's go and see how it all was assembled. Thanks for watching, and subscribe below. So, as you can see here, we've already completed two of the beginning panels and already glued down the cards. Didn't think it was necessary to show all of that part and even to go through this very quickly. There were 2 papers from the Twilight Hues set, which I will put a link below. You can click there to buy online. And really simply just tearing up those and placing them. I wanted to make sure that the first and last panel had the same papers, and then interspersed the other 2, actually 3 papers now that I'm seeing that, sorry. There were 3 papers used to create the collage across those 6 panels. Now here you can see I'm trying to kind of figure out, because at this point in time I hadn't made the decision on how the connection or the lower panels were going to even be made. Now I'm just coming back along on those deckled torn edges with the blending markers. Love these blendables from American Crafts. I can probably put a link to those below as well. They're really wonderful, and you can see how I use the freezer paper and just draw a little bit or scribble a bit there, and then you can actually use the blendable, the clear one, to then pick up the color and disperse it along those edges. I really love this technique. It works wonderfully. Now you can see all of the top panel is done. Now I am making the selection on the lower run. These are just paint chip swatch samples from the hardware store. I was there with my husband and said, oh, those are really cool, and I want to see how I can use those in my next journal. This is the second set, because I knew that I was going to make them all flip open somehow. Whether that be, it ended up being on the 2 ends, they open outward, and then the ones in the center, the 4 in the center, then all flip down. And I did that purposefully so that way they didn't get caught up with the top panel or the top run of the accordion, because at this point I knew I was going to be folding things together. Now very quickly here, the very first flip open panel, and I was a little shy with some of the torn edge there, which worked out. I had left over from the front piece. There was still a little bit of white that ended up showing there on the torn bit, but I knew I was going to come back probably with markers and things of that nature, which is exactly what I did, and used additional little torn pieces to cover not only some of the white piece that was showing, but also some of the actually raised edge. Now these first 2 panels that you see in this particular video, I did choose to cut out a bit of the assembly simply because they changed so much towards the end. So you'll have to watch probably all the way to the end to see exactly how those were finally put together. And again, here you're going to see very quickly, this is where, click over, I'll have a link above in a card, or click the link below. That's to show you how I created that sparkle on the page and then Mod Podged it to seal it. It's a pretty nifty technique. This works on all kinds of printables. In this particular one, it was the Coliro watercolors, but many of the shimmer sprays, color sprays, anything with a bit of shine can be used as long as you can splatter it and it's not too watery. that's kind of the basic rundown there, but there's a full video showing how exactly I did that. And there was the vellum, and basically just folded the little edge there. And this is one of the things, unfortunately, I did end up Mod Podging the vellum. Normally I can get it to flatten out. It did not. So again, watch all the way to the end, all of the 4-part series here, and you will see how I fixed that. And same thing, I think, even with, yes, with this panel as well. This was pretty cool. On this 2-part flip open, the interior pieces that I'm building out right now, I used 2 different embossing folders to create texture. One of the lovely things about using the already Mod Podged papers is that they really hold the embossing quite nicely. Now, what I did there is I made sure that I cut that piece a bit larger than my actual end panel will be, because when you run it through the embosser, it does like shrink it up because it's actually adding texture and pulling in. Something to keep in mind there. Good little tip. And just sizing up the quote. Another little quick tip on this, and what I really should have done and probably will do in all future vellum printed quotes, is using the Tim Holtz Distress Glaze over instead of the Mod Podge. It doesn't make the ink run. It seemed to seal it wonderfully. You keep that nice finish of the vellum, and it doesn't bubble or ripple. I can sometimes get the bubble ripple out even using the Mod Podge, but it seems to be very temperamental, and I liked the finish that was left on the ones I did do with just the Tim Holtz Distress Glaze. I think Jetikins actually has the same, that it's the same recipe. It's a Skycraft recipe, so you can use that. And here you can see what I'm doing is just using the alcohol ink markers on the back side. It was a little lighter in certain spots, and I knew that some of this that really dark was going to be shown through, or like, because it was part of that panel, I wanted to darken up some spots. So we did it from the back side because the Mod Podge was already on the front part. There, just again attaching the vellum quote. Really wish I would have left it alone. It looked beautiful. Now, this piece right here is going to be the hinge, the attachment. These are just leftover pieces, I think, from even the Mountain Sunrise journal. If you want to watch that one. I had a whole really long run, which we decided was a lot to deal with. The 6 panel seems to be a really nice size to work with, just in your workspace, and how it ends up folding up and just the overall size it becomes. So in this case, the playing cards again come in very handy because space-wise it's easy to adjust and know kind of what your panel size is going to be. that second embossing fold. And if any of you watching happen to know where to get those black panels for the Sizzix, the little cuddle bug texture machine, that would be really super. Comment below. And if you're really liking this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. We do these each week, sometimes more than one a week. And if there's a particular video you'd like to see, let us know that in the comments section below. So, I did not listen to my own advice there, and this was my quick little fix, was to run a little kind of spacer piece there, because I thought, okay, well, it's not gonna pull in that much, but it did, because I had cut it to size prior to doing the same thing I did with the lower panel, just adding more of that orange color in there, because it just wasn't it didn't pop as much as I wanted it to. It was very blue on this particular one, so just adding in additional orange. Really cool thing about those alcohol ink markers and using them with the printable papers is that if you get the technique down and don't overly saturate the area, they dry out very nicely. Like, it will spread the ink, and even though you see it there where it looks a little more, there's more contrast there, that's because it hasn't fully dried. Once they fully dry, have a nice even tone throughout. There are those first two panels. I hope you guys stay with us, and we will continue on with creating Twilight hues. Thank you for watching. So please do go ahead and like this video, add a comment, subscribe to us if you haven't already, and hit the bell